What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, and then we either fix them or build them together, depending on how they rank. Now, today we are going to be finishing up talking about the Order of the Lycan Blood Hunter. I know this video is a little bit late, but there is a good reason, and we will get to that here in just a second. Before we do, though, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As you can see, the vast majority of people who watch this channel are not subscribed, so please help us to meet our goal of 1,000 by the end of this year, and I think we can definitely do that with your all's help. So I really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So the Order of the Lycan is obviously a really fun take on the Blood Hunter, as you saw in last week's, I guess, video. We talked about it being a 10 out of 10 subclass. Now, I do want to say that given that a new rulebook has just come out, my ranking is slipping away from me, honestly. And so this is kind of my disclaimer before we do the build. A lot of races that were reprinted and changed in Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse, they were upgraded when it comes to unarmed strikes. So things like tabaxis and satyrs, things like that had a natural weapon, they got upgraded from a D4 to a D6. So now they're all in line with what the Blood Hunter gives you at level 3 for Order of the Lycan. I just want you to keep that in mind. That does definitely hurt this subclass specifically, and of course it also hurts things like the Beast Barbarian, things that already had that got that as part of a feature. Obviously this can now apply to this still applies to races that are not those races, but it makes the subclasses that gave you a D6 right off the bat feel a lot less special. And so I don't know, I just don't think that that it is all that great now. I think that this subclass definitely could use an upgrade, maybe just scale the die up as you go. Probably not a D8 at level 3, but get a D8 earlier than 11, and then maybe a D10 later on, maybe around between 15 and 17, somewhere around there. I'd talk to your dungeon master about that, especially if you have other people in your party who are using the new rules that give them upgraded unarmed strikes. You're just going to feel a lot less special below 11th level, and that's just me. I think that you should definitely talk to your DM about possibly scaling that. So, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's start building this thing. So, for our race, we're going with Wood Elf here. I normally don't go with Wood Elf. I believe this is a first for us, but I like a lot of the features that we get here. We get a lot of really great things. Number one, we get an increased walking speed. That is one of the main reasons we're here, but we get a lot of really cool features as well. 35-foot walking speed is really nice, especially just for free. And we are going to be increasing that as well as we go. And so we're just going to be even faster. And that's really great when we're tracking prey and need to move quickly in order to catch up to them. This is going to definitely come in handy. We also can hide in lightly obscured areas. That's really good as well. We're a hunter, right? We want to be able to sneak up on our prey. So definitely want to take proficiency in stealth, I would imagine. And you can hide just in the bushes where your target's just kind of, chilling with his friends, or out and about on the street, and you just nab your target. I mean, you can do whatever you want with this. This is really nice for all of that. We get dark vision, of course, very great feature. Fey ancestry, also amazing feature. This is why I love elves. They get a lot of really great things. Trance, 4 hours for a long rest, always a good thing, especially for keeping watch. And then proficiency with perception. We're already going to get advantage with certain perception checks, so this is going to be nice for giving us proficiency on top of the advantage. So always pretty good. For our stats, we're going to be very mad on this, unfortunately, and it's just what we've got to do, unfortunately. So we are taking a 17 in dexterity, a 15 in constitution, 13 wisdom, 12 intelligence, 10 strength, and 8 charisma. For our stat boosts, we're putting our +2 into dexterity for a 19 and our +1 in intelligence for a 13.
For multiclassing, you have to have a 13 in specific stats, depending on what you are multiclassing into and out of. We have to have intelligence at a 13 for Blood Hunter, so yeah, that's why we're boosting that. But we also need wisdom, and I want Constitution. In one of the original builds for this, I had dumped Constitution, or well, it was my 12. But I don't think that I can do that in good conscience. For this being a frontline melee only fighter, you're really gonna need those hit points. It's really gonna be nice, especially since we're gonna have resistance to a lot of the damage that we're taking. Every 1 hit point essentially counts as 2, so we're gonna want to try to make that go as long of a way as we possibly can, and so that's why I think that taking Constitution as our 15 is that much more important. For our class starting out, this went through several iterations, and I couldn't quite nail down what I wanted the story of this character to be, just because I have several of these options here. But we're actually going to start out as a monk. I haven't done anything monk related on this channel just yet, just because generally monks are weaker than most other classes. However, monk is very interesting for the combination with the Order of the Lycan. Obviously, they both are going to be relying heavily on unarmed strikes, and so that is kind of where we get our main thing here. Martial arts is going to be really, really nice for us as we grow. We also are going to get other really useful things. So let's jump in here. At Monk 1, we get unarmored defense and martial arts. Now, if you remember back to our barbarian speak, our first video about barbarians, we talked about a feature called unarmored defense. Now, this feature, while worded the same, is slightly different. The barbarians version uses constitution to add onto your dexterity. This one uses wisdom instead of constitution, so it is 10 plus your dexterity plus your wisdom modifier. So right now we're doing okay, I guess. We have a +4 from dexterity and a +1 from wisdom, so we're at a 15. Could be worse. It will improve as we go, so don't worry about that. Our armor class won't be terrible forever. Definitely pick up some bracers of defense if you find any. That would definitely be really, really nice. But we're basically just gonna go into this naked, and then we're gonna stay that way the entirety of our career. So we're gonna have fun with that, and we're gonna stay unarmored for a couple of reasons, but this is the first. We also get martial arts. This gives us a bunch of different features. It upgrades our unarmed strikes. It gives us the ability to act on our bonus action with an attack. A lot of things that we already got as a Blood Hunter, but it's just going to make our Blood Hunter features better once we get them. So don't worry, we're working on it. We're building our core at this point. Second level, we are a Monk 2, and we get 3 things here. We get Key. This is our main feature here as far as our expendable resource. So we get 1 key point per level, and we can use these to fuel certain abilities. Namely, there are 3 that you can use as a bonus action, and you can spend a key point in order to use them. We can Step of the Wind, which will allow us to dash or disengage as a bonus action. Very, very useful. We have Flurry of Blows, which allows us to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action instead of just the 1. So that's really cool if you want to make an extra attack, which most of the time you're going to want to. And we also have Patient Defense, which allows you to take the dodge action as a bonus action. Now, unfortunately, this does mean you're using an expendable resource to do something that rogues can already do, and there definitely was a rogue version of this in the beginning, but don't worry, we're going to make our time as a monk worth it, especially once we get now to level 3 here in just a second. Before we get there, though, at Monk 2, we also get unarmored movement. So if we're not wearing armor or holding a shield, which we will not be doing either of those on this build, we get a bonus to our walking speed. Right now, it is 10 feet. So we now have a speed of 45 feet. That's really good. That's really, really nice, especially at level 2. So eventually, we're going to get up to a 50-foot walking speed. that's kind of insane, and I love it. So we're already off to a really, really great start. We also get dedicated weapon, and we're not going to really be using that feature, so just kind of ignore that. At Monk 3, though, we get to take our subclass. I went through several options here, but I kept coming back to one. One of them just kind of fit better than the others and seems to more naturally lead into a blood hunter type of character, and that is the Shadow Monk. The Shadow Monk gives us several really useful things here, and the most useful thing is our spell casting. We can now use key points to cast certain spells. Two of them are especially important for our purposes, and those are Darkness and Pass Without Trace. I've talked about Pass Without Trace on the channel before, and just how amazing that spell is. Adding a 10 to stealth checks is amazing. And especially when you're a hunter and trying to track people down, being able to be super stealthy, always a good thing, right? And so that's definitely an amazing spell to get. Darkness is one that we are going to be using quite a bit, though, on this build. Probably not something you expected, but can you imagine how intimidating you're going to be when you're a werewolf that just makes everything dark around you and then just start, biting people and tearing into them? It's going to be fantastic. Don't you worry. It's going to happen here in just a second. We also get Deflect Missiles. This is a feature that is neat, and definitely use it to reduce some damage from like incoming arrows and that sort of thing. However, there also is a way for you to throw the projectiles back at people. I generally don't think this is worth spending the key points, so typically I'm going to tell you not to use that feature for that second part, but for reducing damage, pretty cool. We do like that. Key Fueled Attack is something else we get here, but again, we're not going to really be using that feature all that much. Level 4, we are a Monk 4, and we get to choose our first ASI or feat. Now, obviously, our ability scores are all over the place right now, and it would probably be smart for me to go in and bump some of them. I'm going to ignore that for now, but don't worry, every other ASI is going to be an ASI, and I just need this one feat. And it's very important to our build, because right now, if we cast Darkness, we can go in there, but it doesn't mean that we can see in it. We're still blinded by our own darkness, which is a problem. We want to be using this darkness in order to gain a leg up in battle. And yes, once we get to Monk 6, we could teleport to points of darkness, but I would like to have more use than just that. And so we are going to actually take Eldritch Adept as a feat. I don't think I've taken this one as a feat on the channel yet either, but it definitely is exactly what we need, because we now can choose an Eldritch Invocation, and the one we're going with is Devil's Sight. This allows us to see through darkness and magical darkness for free, and that is wonderful. I think this is exactly what we need on this. So now what we can do is cast darkness either on ourselves or at a point right near us, and we run into the darkness while someone else is in the darkness, and we just start punching them. Because they can't see and we can, we have advantage on all of those attacks. Free advantage. And when you're a blood hunter here in just a few levels, advantage is amazing because crits hurt. Crits hurt a lot coming from blood hunters, and yeah, so this is going to be amazing. So definitely a needed feature. I know some people may not put that on a build like this, but I think it's pretty necessary. At level 5, we're still a monk. We're a monk 5 here, and we get extra attack. I wanted to make sure that we got extra attack as soon as possible. Earlier versions of this had, after monk 4, going ahead and multi-classing, but I think extra attack is too important to not pick up here. Even though we get the bonus action attack and we do have flurry of blows, it's going to be nice to just be dealing a little bit of extra damage here. And that way we're already set up when we go into Blood Hunter levels. We already have that extra attack online. We're not having to wait on it for another 5 levels. I think that that's kind of a waste. So yeah, we also get Stunning Strike. So we can force our opponents to make a Constitution saving throw, and on a fail, they're stunned until the end of our next turn, possibly causing a stun lock. Now, our key save is very low at the moment, so most creatures are probably going to save against this for now. We are going to be upgrading this as we go, so don't worry about it. Our key save will get better, and I do recommend using Stunning Strike because it's a very good feature. And, you know, if you want to try it out every now and then just to see if it'll stick, go for it. But it's not always going to work out when our wisdom is a 13. So just don't expect it to work necessarily all the time. We also get focused aim, which is not a terrible feature. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. So yeah, focused aim, definitely use that whenever it comes up. All right, level 6. We're finally getting away from Monk for a little bit. I know you might be saying, well, but at Monk 6, you get your key empowered strikes, your movement goes up, you get your shadow step feature. I know, but I want some other things at the moment, and we'll come back to it. So don't worry, we're coming back. We will pick those up later. But we're also not going Blood Hunter. We're also not going Blood Hunter just yet. The stipulations for this series is that I take at least 11 levels in our featured class, and we'll have enough. It'll be all right. So we're actually going to go fighter. So at this point in your character's career, your character sees that maybe the teachings in the monastery are not quite cutting it. That you have this want for more, for something else, and you can't quite figure out what it is. So you go and get some actual proper formal training. And so we are going to become a fighter. Now at level 1, you get a fighting style, and there are two that I might suggest here. Number 1 is defense, so of course you can use that in order to get a +1 to your AC. The other one is blind fighting, so you get blind sight out to 10 feet. Keep in mind that blind sight would not have helped us with magical darkness. It doesn't work that way, but it can help you with your awareness around you directly, which also plays into being a hunter. So either one of those would work just fine on this build. We also get second wind here, which allows you to heal a little bit of HP, which is always good. But at fighter 2 is where we get action surge, and this allows you to take yet another action on your turn. So you can punch twice with attack, extra attack, action surge, attack, extra attack, and then flurry of blows, attack, extra attack. You can have 6 attacks in one turn. That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice, especially at level 6. That's amazing. I think that's really fun. Yes, that's more of a burst round. You can't necessarily do this all the time, but you being able to put a lot of attacks on something are really nice, especially if you just want to start blowing a bunch of key on seeing if a stunning strike will stick. That's also something you can do, and that gives you, more opportunities than you have key points. So I think that you'll be all right. That gives you some leeway for if you miss a couple of times, but in theory you're rolling with advantage. And then if you're using key, you will only have a few key left, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll get another key point later when we go back to Monk for a little bit. But yeah, so that's action surge. It's really, really nice for our damage. All right, level 8. We're finally multi-classing into Blood Hunter. I know it's very late in the build to finally be going to our featured class, but I wanted to build this core first, of being able to deal these unarmed strikes, of being able to get around really, really well, having a lot of mobility, having the ability to sneak around really easily, being able to cover your own tracks and to be able to find someone else. Again, I would, I said to take stealth. I would also definitely take survival on this as well, because survival is a really, really nice skill for tracking. So definitely consider taking that as well. But Blood Hunter 1, we get a couple of features here. We get Hunter's Bane as well as Blood Maledict. So our formal training failed us, and we finally said, you know what? I was edging on darkness when I was a monk. I went to formal training. That I learned a little bit, but we're just gonna go full on off the deep end, and we're just gonna become a werewolf essentially. And this is amazing, so that you can unlock your full potential. So we get Hunter's Bane. This allows you to be a better hunter, of course, allowing you to track creatures more easily. And of course our Blood Maledict, allowing us to do blood curses. And I would suggest taking some that do not require a saving throw. Our intelligence is quite low. It's not going to get a whole lot better. So our Hemocraft save is going to be quite low. So anything that requires a save, your chances of them succeeding is usually pretty good. So I would definitely consider taking ones that don't require saving throws. Just my suggestion. You can if you want to, but that's just my suggestion. Then at Blood Hunter 2, you get a fighting style. It doesn't matter because none of them are really relevant here, and that's one thing I don't really like, is that none of these are really relevant to Order of the Lycan unless you're using a weapon. We're not using a weapon. This is a unarmed strike build, which again, unarmed strike builds are not going to be super big damage dealers. Just the game doesn't really favor that, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, it is what it is. We also get Crimson Right here, so we would be able to light up weapons, except we're not using any, so we can't light up our hands until the next level at Blood Hunter 3. At Blood Hunter 3, we take our Order of the Lycan, and we finally can now transform. So we get our heightened senses, which is cool. So we can now sniff. We can now sniff out everybody that we're trying to track, which is good. We're now the bloodhound of the party, and we get our hybrid transformation feature as well, allowing us to turn into a werewolf. This is going to give us some damage resistances, which is going to give us some much needed survivability. Our AC isn't the best, but now we at least get a lot more out of our HP, which is going to be really, really nice. Even at this level, you know, most damage that you're going to take is going to be bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. And so, yeah, you're gonna use this feature constantly. That part of the feature is going to come up quite a bit. So definitely still a good feature. Now our unarmed strikes don't really get much of an upgrade. Unfortunately, they don't. However, now we can light them on fire, or make them very cold, or make them lightning-y. So that's really cool. And so now we can add some extra damage onto our unarmed strikes. So we still got an upgrade, and that's really, really nice. One thing that I didn't mention last time is that when you look through your Crimson Right feature, it says that you have to just keep in contact with the weapon. Well, the weapon is literally attached to you, so unless you go unconscious, you're not going to lose this. So that's one thing that's cool. Somebody can't just knock this out of your hand, because, you know, it's literally your hand. So unless you get your hand cut off, in which case you have a lot bigger problems, then you're going to be just fine. As far as you don't have to worry about your dungeon master throwing a battle master fighter to knock your sword out of your hand to get rid of the effect. So that's pretty good. That's really cool. I think that's gonna it probably won't come up all that often, but you're gonna feel really awesome if it ever does. At Blood Hunter 4, we are going to get an ASI or a feat, and like I promised, we're doing ASIs for the rest of the build. We're going to go ahead and fix all... Shoot, we have so many odd numbers. We're going to fix 2 of them, and we're going to fix our dexterity and our wisdom. This is going to give us a +2 to our AC, fixing both of those, which is going to be amazing. But in addition, this also gives us a bonus to initiative. It's going to give us a bonus to attack and damage rolls, which is always a good thing, because we are using dexterity instead of strength on this build, as outlined in your hybrid transformation feature. So for all the right reasons, we are definitely bumping our dexterity. The wisdom bumping is there for our key save, especially for Stunning Strike. So Stunning Strike, yes, we already have advantage in the darkness, but now you can kind of do that with your friends if you really want to lock somebody down and really make sure that that person does not walk away. Stunning Strike, and then you could drop the darkness or however you wanted to do it, and all of your friends just go to town on that one thing until it's gone. So yeah, Stunning Strike is still very relevant, and I think it's definitely something you should use, and that's why I want to help with our key save here as well. So now we could go Blood Hunter 5, because because we're progressing Blood Hunter. However, we get extra attack there. That's the only thing we get. And you don't get to stack extra attack. So technically it's a dead level. We don't get anything out of Blood Hunter 5. So now I thought it was a good time to go ahead and take Monk 6. So we're going to take Monk 6 here. We're going to get our key empowered strikes. This one we can use. The key fueled attack, like I put there, it's much better for weapon users. For unarmed strike users, it's pretty much useless. At least it doesn't give you any advantage over what you could already do. Key powered strikes, though, will work for us, and definitely consider using that. Shadow Step. This allows you to teleport now from a point of darkness to another point of darkness. That's amazing for mobility. Again, one of the big themes that we're looking at here on this build is being able to move around quickly, and being able to teleport is absolutely phenomenal for this type of a build. And finally, our unarmed movement goes up to a plus 15 feet. So now we are a 50-foot speed character. That's fantastic. So a lot here at Monk 6. So now we're going to go back to Blood Hunter 5, and we're going to be at Blood Hunter the rest of the way. So we're going to keep it simple from here. At Blood Hunter 5, we of course get extra attack, like I said, and it's a dead level. Sad, but it is what it is. At Blood Hunter 6, we get our brand of castigation, and this allows you to brand an enemy. Obviously, you can still do this with your unarmed strikes, so don't worry, this is a thing that you can do. And for now, it's not amazing. It definitely gets upgraded once you are high enough level of a Blood Hunter. Unfortunately, we're not going to get there for this one, but Brand of Castigation is still okay. It deals a little bit of extra damage to them if they attack you or somebody within 5 feet of you once you've branded them. It is free, so I mean, you just kind of do it and it's part of the attack action. So, you're going to be nickel and diming them a little bit, but, it's something. It's 1 damage, but it's fine. It's fine. We're going to make it 2 here in just a minute, so don't worry. It's going to get way more impressive. It's going to double, actually, so that's fantastic. We also get our Blood Maledict feature twice per rest. It only took forever, but we finally made it. It's fine. Blood Hunter 7, we get our Stalker's Prowess, which is, of course, really, really nice. Not the best feature in the world, but it is pretty fun as well. I like it for the most part. We also get another Primal Right here. Again, it only took forever to get our second Primal Right, but now you can light up your claws in one of 2 different ways. So now you have more options. Always a good thing. Blood Hunter 8, we get a bonus to our Constitution and our Intelligence. So I'm going to go ahead and cap those off. We don't have any more odd numbers. Thank goodness. Those odd numbers just bother me. So now we're going to be getting more HP per level up. Our Intelligence is a little bit higher, so that helps our Brand of Castigation damage. If you really wanted to, you could just bump Wisdom here and just bump Wisdom like all the way. This would get you up to an 18 total once you finish. Totally a viable option, just because the extra damage from the Intelligence really isn't that needed. Again, I recommended not using blood curses that have to do with saves, so that, again, Intelligence is kind of a non-factor there. So I definitely could see taking a +2 to Wisdom instead. Definitely makes sense. So finally then we get to our final few levels. Blood Hunter 9, we get Grim Psychometry. Again, this is kind of a ribbon feature. It's a vague feature. We talked about it a lot in the original Blood Hunter video, so I'm not going to go super in depth with it. We get Dark Augmentation. Again, we went more in depth in our original Blood Hunter video on that. And then finally we get Advanced Transformation. Oh, it's been a long time coming that we finally get this feature. We finally get an upgrade to our unarmed strikes that was definitely due a long time ago. But yeah, we get some extra bonuses here, and always a good thing. Always a good thing to help with our werewolf self. And then finally, Blood Hunter 12, level 20. We get an ASI or a feat, and we're going to take our Wisdom up to a 16 or 18 if you skipped out on the last ASI. So that is our build for today. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Again, we build these for fun, not necessarily to be optimized, so I'm sure that there are more optimal ways to do this. But I wanted a really fun build with some interesting multi-classing, and I think that it tells a really cool story as well. So, honorable mentions, things that almost made it but didn't quite. Number 1 would have been a barbarian mix in order to fill in the gaps with our rage. Rage would have filled in our slightly more weak points here. You could have definitely gone Totem of the Bear for giving us resistance to all damage. That way we could have gotten rid of that silvered weapon and the magical weapons weakness. So that could have been a thing. You also could have gone Beast Barbarian. However, I don't think you get enough out of that. It would have been cool, though, to take the tail in addition to having the claws. And so then technically you have both. You have 2 features of the Beast Barbarian at the same time, technically, which could have been really cool. The only problem is that Rage and our transformation are both bonus actions, as well as lighting up our claws. So it would have taken 3 bonus actions in order to set up. It's already bad enough that we have to use 2, 1 to transform, 1 to light the claws. Adding a 3rd is probably not in our best interest, especially when we have all of these monk things that we can do as our bonus action. Probably want to leave that as free as we possibly can. Number 2, I had a paladin, so we could have added some smite damage to our claws. This can be done. It's weird, but you can do it. But again, I don't think that I wanted to delay everything anymore, especially since we would have had to definitely dive a lot deeper into paladin than what I would have wanted to in order to make the multi-class useful, just because we don't have spell slots otherwise. So it's not worth a 2-level dip for me, especially since you want to dip paladin in order to get armor stuff. We're not doing armor stuff on this build, so it just wouldn't have worked out. Finally, one that became very, very close was a rogue. Originally this was a rogue build, and it was a rogue build up until like the very end, when I finally decided to do monk instead. So the assassin rogue actually would be a really, really nice one here. Being able to cast darkness or pass without trace or whatever it is that you want to do will definitely allow you to get your surprise and take the assassin subclass. The assassin is generally not the best subclass in the world just because it relies on surprise, but you kind of can generate some surprise here with the shadow monk features, and yeah, that can be kind of reliable. So I definitely think that the assassin rogue could be a very viable option. It means that you wouldn't have had to use wisdom, so that's why I was a lot more on board with doing this, because it makes you I say way less. It makes you a little less mad. It drops the wisdom requirement. You still need dexterity, you still need intelligence, you still need constitution, but it gets rid of 1 more mental stat. So still nice. So definitely consider that. As far as feats to consider, Elven Accuracy on this, because we are generating advantage so easily here. Elven Accuracy can just help us crit that much more often. So if you find room in there, or don't really care as much about about your saves to Stunning Strike, if you want to just completely throw out Stunning Strike, you could, and you could just take Elven Accuracy instead and just crit everything because you're rolling 3d20s. So that could be really nice. I really, really like that. There are a couple of others that I considered here as well, but I think Elven Accuracy is kind of the standout, honestly. I think it's really, really nice. As far as races go, we have the Shifter. The Shifter is definitely a standout option, but honestly, it seems a little on the nose for what we're getting for our subclass in order to already be able to do that with our race. But we do get some pretty good features, some healing when we shift, and that's a lot of really cool things like that. I do currently have a Shifter Blood Hunter on my Curse of Strahd party, and we're having a really good time with that. So it can work, no big deal. Eladrin is also a really cool one. Eladrin gives you a lot of really cool features depending on what season you choose. I also have a spring Eladrin in my party as well. It's funny that those just worked out to be really good for these. And then finally, Leonin. I do not have a Leonin. I find it funny, just the idea of like a Minotaur or a Leonin or something that's already based on an animal to be able to turn into a wolf. I just find that transformation would just be really funny to watch. And so I just want somebody to do that. But it gives you the bonus action fear effect. Again, that's another bonus action thing. We have a ton of uses for our bonus action on this build. So probably not the best, but if you are really looking for a fear effect, this is the way to do it. So that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. It really, really helps us out. And next week, we're talking about the Order of the Mutant. So now we have mixed a little bit with Barbarian. This coming week, we are mixing it with an Alchemist. And then the following week, we are just mixing it with a Warlock. And we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of those videos. Until then, stay safe out there, stay healthy, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.